Atin pong ipanalangin ng ORATIO IMPERATA. Magkapangyarihan at mapagmahal na Ama, lumalapit kami sa iyo sa aming pangangailangan upang hiligin ng protection laban sa coronavirus disease 2019 na nagpapahirap sa marami at kumikita ng maraming buhay. Nagmamakaawa kami, pagmahal na Ama. Nagabayan mo ang mga taong nag-aaral kung saan ang galing at sanhi ng epidemyang ito at sa mabilis na pagkalat nito. Gabayan mo ang mga kamay at isipan ng mga eksperto sa medikal na maaari silang maglingkod sa mga may sakit na may kakayanan at pakikiramay. At sa mga gobyerno at pribadong ahensya ay silang dapat makapaghanap ng lunas at solusyon sa epidemyang ito. Iligtas mo kami sa lahat ng uri ng karamdaman. Pagalingin mo ang mga may sakit. At buhayin mo sa amin ang pagkakawang gawa upang kalingahin namin ang bawat isa. Hinihiling namin ito sa pamamagitan ni Jesucristo ang anak mo na bubuhay at naghahari, kasama mo at ng Espiritu Santo, iisang Diyos, magpasawalang hanggan. Amen. Mahal na Birhen, magpapagaling sa mga may sakit, ipanalangin mo kami. San Rafael ang Arkanghel, ipanalangin mo kami. San Roque, ipanalangin mo kami. Ina ng Kaligtasan, ipanalangin mo kami. San Lorenzo Ruiz, ipanalangin mo kami. San Pedro Calungsod, ipanalangin mo kami. So, ang topic natin for tonight ay effective decision making. Lalo na sa mga ganitong panahon, gaya nung lockdown all over Luzon dahil sa coronavirus disease, COVID-19. It's really important na makagawa ng mga decisions. So, paano ba natin ito makagawa ng tama? People often say na marami sa kanila ay nahihirapan makagawa ng mga decisions. Unfortunately, kailangan nating lahat na gumawa ng decisions all the time, mula sa trivial issues kagaya ng ano ang kakainin natin for lunchtime, hanggang sa life-changing decisions like saan tayo at mag-aaral at ano ang kukunin nating course and kung sino ang ating pakakasalan. Some people put off making decisions sa pamamagitan ng endless search for more information or kukuha sila ng ibang tao para magbigay sa kanila ng recommendations. Ang iba naman, maggagawa ng mga decisions sa pamamagitan ng taking a vote, paglagay ng pin sa isang listahan o kaya coin tossing rather. I got mixed up. I'm not good at that either. So, what is decision making? In the simplest terms, it's the act of choosing between two or more courses of action. In the wider process of problem solving, kailangan sa decision making ang pagpili between possible solutions sa isang problema. Nagagawa mga decisions sa pamamagitan ng either intuitive or reasoned process or a combination of the two. Now, let's talk about intuition. So, ano ba talaga ito? It's using your gut feeling about possible courses of action. Although people talk about it as if may magical sense ito, ang intuition talaga ay combination ng past experience and our personal values. It is worth taking your intuition into account because sinasalamin nito, it reflects your learning about life. Kaya lang, hindi ito laging based sa reality, kundi more on our perceptions dahil ang mga ganito ay nagsimula sa childhood and may not be very mature as a result. Therefore, it's worth examining your gut feeling ng more closely, especially kung meron kang malakas na pakiramdam against a particular course of action para makita if we can work out why and whether justified ang ating nararamdaman. Ang reasoning naman, on the other hand, is using the facts and figures na nasa harapan na natin para makagawa ng decisions. Nagmumula ang reasoning sa here and now and in facts. But it can ignore emotional aspects to the decision, and in particular, ang mga issues from the past that may affect the way that the decision is implemented. Intuition is perfectly acceptable means of making a decision, although it's generally more appropriate kapag ang decision is just more simplistic or kailangang mabilis gawin. Ang mga mas complicated na decisions ay kailangan ng mas formal and structured approach na mayroon ng involvement sa intuition and reasoning. So it's important to be wary of impulsive reactions to any situation. Sometimes, we have to apply both reasoning and intuition. Now, how does this be done? How do we do it, rather? The two aspects should be applied in turn. It's useful to start with reason and gather facts and figures. Once you have an obvious decision, it's the turn of intuition. How do you feel about the answer? Tama ba ang nasagot mo sa ganito? Otherwise, have another look. At kailangan nating tingnan kung magagawa natin kung why something does not work. Because kung wala tayong emotional commitment sa decision na nagawa na, it cannot be implemented well or effectively. Now, how can decision making become effective? Decisions should be capable of being implemented whether on a personal or organizational level. Therefore, anyone should be committed to do the decision personally and be able to persuade others of its merits. Kaya, ang isang effective decision-making process ay kailangan masigurado ay meron talaga tayong kakayanan gawin ito. Now, there are also some problems that can prevent effective decision-making. For example, kulang sa information. Kaya mararamdaman mo na makakagawa ka ng decision without any basis. So, you must take some time to gather the necessary data to inform your decision, even if the time scale can be very tight. Kaya, information gathering should be prioritized by identifying the information na pinaka-importante sa'yo. The contrast can happen at some instances, kagaya ng too much information. It's what is seen more surprisingly often. Having so much conflicting information that it's impossible to see the wood under the trees. It's what's called analysis paralysis and is also used as a tactic to delay organizational decision making. Na mga involved dito, they demand ever more information before making a decision. You can resolve this problem sa pamamagitan ng pag-gather sa mga involved persons to decide what information is really important and why, and by setting a clear time scale for decision making. And that includes information gathering. Okay? Making decisions by committee is difficult, kaya too many people can prevent effective decision making too. Lahat naman kasi tayo, iba-iba ang ating mga views and values. While it's important to know kung ano ang mga views natin and why and how they are important, it's essential for one person to become responsible for making a decision. Sometimes, any decision is better than none. Vested interests can also prevent decision making. Decision making processes often founder under the weight of vested interests. They are often not overtly expressed but may be a crucial blockage because of that. You cannot identify them clearly and easily and therefore address them. Kaya naman, it can sometimes though be possible to do when they're explored with someone outside the process. Kailangan lang similar ang positioning. It can also help to explore the rational or intuitive aspects with all stakeholders, usually with an external facilitator in order to support the process. Emotional attachments, such that people are often very attached to the status quo. Decisions tend to involve the prospect of change, kaya marami hirapang gumawa ng decision dahil meron din silang strong emotional attachment. Sometimes, wala namang emotional attachment dahil someone does not care one way or the other. That's why a structured decision-making process can help by identifying some very real pros and cons of particular actions that is perhaps not thought about before. You can overcome these issues by using a structured decision-making process. This process can help to, number 1, mabawasan ng complicated decisions down to more simple steps. Second, see how any decisions are arrived at. And finally, plan decision-making to meet deadlines. There are many decision-making techniques that have been developed na nagmumula sa simple rules of thumb to more complex procedures. This method used depends on the nature of the decision to be made and how complex it is. Now there's also a framework on effective decision making. It's a 7-stage model originally designed for use in groups and organizations. There is just no reason why this cannot be used in a simplified form or just as is kapag gagawa na ng decisions while at home. Ang importante nga lang is to go through all the stages in turn, even if only to decide that they are not relevant for the current situation. First, we have to list down possible solutions or options. To come up with the list of all the possible solutions or options available, it's appropriate to use a group or individual problem-solving process. It could include brainstorming or some other idea-generating process. It's important to the overall decision-making process, as a decision will be made from a selection of fixed choices. Kailangan lang mai-consider ang possibility of not making a decision or doing nothing, and be aware, take note that both options could be potential solutions in themselves. Next is set a time scale and deciding the most responsible one for the decision. In deciding how much time to make available for the decision-making process, we must consider the following. How much time is available to spend on this decision? Meron bang deadline for making a decision, and what are the consequences kapag nalampasan ito? Is there an advantage in making a quick decision? Now, how important is it to make this decision? How important is it that the decision is right? Ang pag-spend ba ng more time ay maka-improve sa quality ng decision? Sometimes, a quick decision can be more important than the right decision, and at other times naman, the reverse is true. Responsibility for the decision. Before making a decision, one must be clear who is going to take responsibility for it. It's not always those making the decision who have to assume responsibility for it. It is an individual, group, or an organization. This is a key question because the degree to which responsibility for a decision is shared can greatly influence how much risk people are willing to take. Kung work-related kasi ito, everyone, it's gonna be helpful to consider the organizational structure. You know, is the individual responsible for their decisions, or ang responsibility ay nasa organization na? Sino naman ang mag-carry out ng course ng mga decided actions? At kapag may maling nangyari or something, who will be the most affected? And is anyone willing to take responsibility kapag may maling nangyari? Now, let's figure out who can actually make a decision. When helping a friend, a colleague, or client to reach a decision, in most circumstances, the final decision and responsibility will be taken by them. If it's possible and not obvious, just agree formally the most responsible one for the decision. Dahil ang idea na responsibility ay nag-highlight na idea to keep a record on how any decision was made, the information it was based on, and who was involved. Enough information needs to be kept to justify that decision in the future para naman, if something does go wrong, it is possible to show that the decision made was reasonable in the circumstance and giving the knowledge that's held at the time. And before we make a decision, kailangan lahat ng relevant information ay ma-gather. Because kapag merong inadequate or outdated information, you could possibly make a wrong decision. Yes, a lot of irrelevant information can cause the decision to be more difficult to make. Kaya pwedeng ma-distract by unnecessary factors more easily kung ganyan ang case. There should always be up-to-date and accurate information para makagawa ng mga decision. However, the amount of time spent on information gathering has to be weighed against how much one can be willing to risk sa paggawa ng maling desisyon. Dahil sa group situation kagaya nung sa work, it can be appropriate for different people para makapag-research ng mga aspects ng required information. Iba-ibang aspects na po ito. For example, different people might be allocated to concentrate their research on costs, facilities, availability, and so on. Now, the risk involved should be weighed up. Dahil, the key question is how much risk should be taken in making this decision. The amount of risk an individual is willing to take depends on the following. Listen well ha. First, the seriousness of the consequences of taking the wrong decision. Second, the benefits of making the right decision. And not only how bad the worst outcome might be, but how likely will that outcome happen? Consider also kung ano ang risk ng worst possible outcome and to decide kung acceptable ito. It's now going to be either all out for success or just taking a safe decision. You have to decide na rin sa mga values or pagpapahalaga. Dahil everybody has their own unique set of values kung ano ang importante for them. Kaya ang mga decision na gagawin will ultimately be based on your values. Ibig sabihin na pagka ang decision ay tama for you, it may not be right for other people. If the responsibility is shared naman, it's also possible that there's one person that might not have the same values rather as others. Kaya it's important to obtain a consensus as to which values are to be given at the most weight. It's important that the values on which a decision is made are understood because they will have a strong influence on the final choice. Now, let's also weigh up the pros and the cons. Now, what could be the possible advantage and disadvantage of several different solutions and options? Kaya sila mako-compare. Kailangan gumamit ng balance sheet for that para yung mga benefits and costs or pros and cons will be weighed up na ma-associate sa solution. Every aspect of a situation should be considered and identify what is good and what is bad. First, for example, kailangan mag-start sa mga cost and then move on to staffing aspects and then perhaps yung mga presentational issues. So, kapag nalista na yung pros and cons, now we can decide which is the best option. However, kailangan magkaroon din ng rating sa each of the pros and cons on a simple 1 to 10 scale. Ang most important ay number 10 and the least is number 1. In scoring each of these pros and cons, it helps to take into account how important each item on the list is in meeting the agreed values. This balance sheet approach allows this to be taken into account and presents it in a clear and straightforward manner. And now it's time to actually make the decision at this point. This is the part where the gathered information should have provided sufficient data on which to base a decision. And by this point, kailangan alam nyo na rin ang mga advantage and disadvantage of each option. Make your mind up time, according to the quote in the TV program Opportunity Knocks. If possible, kailangang maglaan ng time to reflect on the decision once it has been reached. You have to sleep on it first, most preferably before announcing it to others, because kapag public na decision nito, it's hard to change it or it cannot be changed at all. For important decisions, it is worth always keeping a record of the steps you followed in the decision-making process. That way, kapag ka na-criticize ka for making a bad decision, you can justify your thoughts na nakabase sa information and processes used at the time. Furthermore, by keeping a record and engaging with the decision-making process, mapapalakas ang understanding of how it works, which can make further decisions easier to manage. The most importantly, kapag ka ang decision ay nagawa na, stop thinking about what ifs. Kung mali lang, kung mayroon lang something na what you think is wrong and the decision has to be revisited, do it. Or you can just accept the decision and move on. No technique can substitute for good judgment and clear thinking dahil individual judgment ang may involve sa decision making, and ang mga systematic techniques ay pang-assist lang para magawa natin ng mga judgment nito for making the best decisions in anything. So, at this point, guys, I hope na meron na kayong mga basehan on what decisions to make and which one is the best or the worst. So that by the next time na you have to go to that point, hindi na kayo mahihirapan or you don't have to, well, mangapa or something or simply resort to what others think is the best decision, because it's best to do it for yourself. Ganyan. Gaya nung siguro, who will buy the groceries kapag may lockdown? Who is going to cook dinner? Ganyan. Kahit mga ganyan, pag-iisipan pa rin. And when you think you have the best decision ever made, then do it. Kasi if it's wrong, you can just revisit it or simply move forward like I've already discussed. So I hope this is helpful for all of you as well. Right now, we still have to keep ourselves safe and stay healthy, eat a lot of fruit and veggies, and drink our vitamins at matulog ng sapat. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Open Arms, which is Effective Decision Making. This has been Billicent B, Macuse. At naniniwala ako na ang hands-in inclusion is for a one inclusion nation. See you all in the next. Take care.
Bye.